Chase Saxon returns, Ducati is racing in North America, and what else did we learn this Friday at RedBud? Welcome back to Vital MX. I'm your host, Michael Lindsay, and it is July 4th, America's Independence Day, baby. Great time to be at RedBud as always. Fireworks are gonna be great tonight. Lobby is probably gonna be insane. We will be editing videos, sadly though. Race, of course, will be for July 5th. Let's talk about it. What's going on this weekend? The two biggest items again is Chase Saxon is finally returning with the Red Bull KTM squad this weekend. He is back for outdoors. If you want to learn more about what's been going on with him, you can check out our press day interviews. Our man Lewis Phillips got to talk to him. Also, welcome back to Big Lou. He's been out for a couple outdoors now, sick. So this is his first race back as well. Big one is Antonio Coroli racing both RedBud and Millville on the Ducati Corsa R&D squad. A couple things to talk about. So what ended up happening with the bike he's racing? It is a stock engine with an Akrapovic exhaust, a modified ECU, and then suspension components that are a little bit mix of production and kit stuff that the Factory Connection crew has been working on. We've talked about this in past features. Factory Connection, Ziggy and the crew over there have been hired as an R&D arm to help get the Ducati Desmo 450 MX ready for US racing, particularly Supercross. So they've been developing some settings, some linkages, some chassis stuff, trying to work on a few things to get this bike ready. So they're bringing Antonio over to race, and they wanted to do a cool mixer. They wanted to evaluate some of the stuff that they have worked on with FC and kind of get a baseline with him. But at the same time, they also want to race very close to a stock bike to also basically show to all the consumers out here how good the Desmo is out of the box. So little things like triple clamps, some suspension modifications, but we noticed a lot of stock on the bike, like brakes, wheels, etc. One interesting one I thought is he is racing Dunlops instead of Coroli this weekend. He has been racing, of course, Coroli in the GPs. That's what he's basically raced his career on. But he is racing on US soil. They want to get that input on Dunlops because they are going to race Dunlops for their factory team here in the US, which will be run by the Troy Lee Design Squad next year. So this is more of an R&D effort out of one of FC's test stands. They've got their crew here. Again, some of the guys on the US side, like Josh Weisner, Ryan Cox, that's doing engine development, a bunch of guys that have worked with FC and different factory teams that have come in to help develop this program. So one thing I've seen a lot of people ask, how the heck are they racing this bike already? So there are really two different types of homologation rules. One is the standard one that we see maybe KTM use to get the factory editions in for Supercross, which requires 200 units to be in the States and available by a certain day. I think it's like end of February, and then the other 200 basically have to be available at the end of Supercross at the end of May. Now this is an early homologation. Same thing Honda did last year to get the 450, Sierra 450 in for Hunter to race early into the season, or I should say mid-season on. Same thing they did with Kawasaki did with Villapoto in 2011 when he raced the 2012 model. What early homologation requires is them to fill out special paperwork and then get all 400 units in the country within 90 days. So they filed the paperwork on the 1st, but I think it's labeled the 4th. It's basically 2 days when the paperwork technically is enacted. So Ducati has 90 days to get 400 units into the US for sale, which we know they're on track to. When I was there over a month ago, they were just starting to run bikes off the production line. They'll get a batch of 400 over, get them shipped over here. Now we did ask AMA, what the heck happens? Got a helicopter flying by. What the heck happens if an OEM were to do early homologation and not be able to get the units in the country in time? It would be both a sporting and a financial penalty. So, I mean, basically the results would get nullified and there would be some sort of financial penalty with that. So, again, Ducati has 90 days from today to get 400 units in the country. So they are filled out paperwork and legal to race for now. A couple little injuries and returns. We have Drew Adams returning with the Pro Circuit squad, which was only figured out basically Wednesday evening. We actually ran into his mechanic on our flight out, and he was joking about basically having to book a flight Thursday morning for ridiculous sum of money once they decided Drew was racing. I say that, the team pays for the flights, if that's not obvious, people. But yes, Drew is returning. It was a little bit last minute, but he is racing. Also last minute though is Time Master Pullout. He has some form of a hand injury, something broken. They wouldn't go into too much detail. They're hoping he will be back for Washougal. If not, he'll be back after the next Loretta's break. So he's missing this weekend at RedBud. He's going to miss next weekend at Millville, it sounds like. They're hoping for Washougal. If not, again, after the break. Again, a tough one. We've talked about multiple times. Ty is technically on a one-year deal. There's an option, but he hasn't really had a great season, so we don't know where he's going to go after this year. Another person out is Carson Mumford. Was supposed to make his return this weekend with the Quadlock Honda team. Some level of, I think I was described as like a gym mishap of some sort, has delayed him either another week or two. I feel like we do this every week. What's our Prado update? Well, another engine tested this weekend, sent out, so another new update this weekend for him on that. They're just continuing to plug away. It does sound like from talking to him last week, though, he is going to make a more permanent move to the Club MX facility for the foreseeable future for the summer. I mean, he ran into what a few of us joked about in California, man. We got 50 and 65 kids riding with pros every day at Fox and Glen Helen, and it's an absolute disaster. I'll be 100% honest. If somebody rides locally in SoCal, even for just me riding through, it's scary at this point. We need to learn how to split tracks or split practices. I don't know how. None of our tracks have figured that out yet. We used to over a decade ago, but you know, that's an argument for a different time. Either way, Jorge Prado spending more time back east for the summer, and some more updates coming into this weekend for his bike, so we will see how he performs. Let's do an early Motocross of Nations update, because RedBud always seems, you know, 4th of July, the red, wine, blue. It's one of the first conversations we usually have with Pelletier and the team of the AMA of like, hey, what are we thinking? We actually talked to him a little bit last weekend, same answer. Right now, it sounds very likely that Eli Tomac and Hayden Deegan will both be participating this year with the help of the Monster and Yamaha Star Racing Squad. Again, I say that Tomac will not be switching to his new team until after Motocross of Nations, so he would still be aboard the Yamaha. It sounds very likely that both of them are going to race. It's not 100% confirmed, but that's what the AMA is leaning towards. The second 450 spot is the question mark. That is going to be between a Chase Sexton and Aaron Plessinger. Somewhere in that range is kind of where it's leaning right now. Chase, of course, is returning this weekend, so we'll see how his pace stacks up against Aaron's over the next few rounds. And then also, again, Chase is going to be making a team change after SMX, so we'll see if that affects his decision at all at any point as it gets closer. And that's it for this edition of What We Learned on Friday. If you have any thoughts at all, throw them in the comments section below, and as always, thanks for watching.